All right, so this assignment asks you to use the JPA persistent API that we just went over with, and extend the current implementation to store the data that we have so far in a relational database. Right, so we have a couple of new data models that from the ones we already have from prior implementations. We had started with users and or persons. I forget what we called it, and we're adding now this inheritance, these students and faculty that inherit from this base class of person and user. We also have a couple of one-to-many and a couple of parent-child relationships between courses and modules and lessons and topics. And we also have a couple of widgets. I'm not quite sure if we implemented this in the previous assignment, but if not, we're going to implement it here, where we're gonna have a base class of a widget, and then we're going to have a couple of types of widgets that are have specific values that capture different data for that particular type of widget. The data model has grown a bit. A lot of this we're not going to even use just yet. This will be for later assignments. But mostly the new things that we have added here are the user as a base class and student and faculty inheriting from this base class user or person or whatever we called it in a prior assignment. We still have the same course, module, lessons, and whatnot. Later on, we'll talk about enrollments in section. That's the next assignment when we start looking at implementing from the student's point of view. The student needs to be able to enroll in a section and whatnot. That's for later. Also, in a later assignment, we have students being able to take a quiz, right? And quizzes will have different types of questions and different answers. So again, this is for future assignments. The main focus here is implementing these two inheritance relationships that we have here of a base class of user and student and faculty, and this base class of a widget that have different types of widgets that inherit from this base class. Right? We saw today implementing some simple inheritance relationships between the users and a faculty and a student. This asks you to do the same thing for widgets. Right? So implement the data models of faculty and students, which is basically what today's lecture was all about, and then implement widgets, lists, and a couple of other types of widgets, of which here we give you the fields and their data types. Okay, I think we do lists, image, paragraph, and heading, just those four. So lists, heading, paragraph, and an image. So these four down here, not the YouTube one or the quiz. For each one, you'll need to create a separate repository, right? So that you can retrieve each one individually. So these are mostly just one-liners, right? These are interfaces that extend the CRUD repository and are configured to handle either the faculty or the course or the lesson or the widget, right, independently. We also ask you to extend the web servers, although some of these web servers you might already have. Right? Most of them for courses and modules, users, you probably already have those web services. We're just asking you to be able to support students and faculty independently. Being able to retrieve only the faculty, retrieve only the users, and now add support for widgets. I believe this is the same API was introduced in a prior assignment, being able to create a new widget. Actually, no, we didn't do widgets in the web services assignment, did we? Right, we only did users, courses, modules, right, all the way up to widgets, but we didn't go into widgets. Yes. Okay. This one asks you to extend that. Right, so that you can support now widgets. Given a topic, you can now create a new widget into that topic, or retrieve all the widgets for a given topic. Okay? So that's for the topic service. For the widget service, you should be able to retrieve an individual widget. Right, so find widget by ID, or you can update a widget by ID, so that you can maybe rename a widget or change its values, or remove a widget giving its ID. Where's that? Oh, you mean like here? Yes. Okay, so that's what bold meant. Okay, thank you. Right, so you can just use the base user. Okay? If you don't want to have the inheritance, since we already gave you that, right, that implementation for having the base user, faculty and student inheriting from the base class, right? We already gave you that. So if you want to go and use the code that I gave you in the lecture, go ahead. It's a nice way to practice it of what we just covered in class. But we do ask you to implement inheritance using widgets. Okay? Yes. Right, you'll have to handle it as maybe a role or as an enumerated data type, somehow being able to distinguish between them, kind of like your own D type, right? Yes. Yep. Yep. So depending on, you drive that logic from the client, right? Whatever you select, then you would use that particular repository. So you would know what the role is. Right. Oh, okay. You'll have to remove it from one and create it in the other. Yep. 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 Yeah, that's why if you want to just use user and a role enumerated data type, yeah, that's fine. Yep. Yes. That I mean, from Java's point of view, you need the list, right? You need the list. Otherwise, you're not going to get the array of courses of modules. So if you retrieve the course, you won't get the list of modules, unless you don't want them, which is fine, right? So you could just have the modules just have a reference back to the parent. Yep, yep. And that's so it depends how you implemented the client, right? So if the client needs all the data all at once and then feeds the state all down to all the Reacts, then you'll need to implement the list. If instead you implement it in such a way that you navigate to a page and you have to refresh and go fetch the data for that specific, then you won't need the parent. You won't need the children, right? And you only go fetch what you need for rendering that particular. Yes. So it depends what you implemented. Right, so you have the web services for the widgets, and for the topics, being able to retrieve an individual widget or update an individual widget, and also remove a specific widget. Okay, so this one just gives you an idea of if you need to be able to retrieve specific types of widgets, maybe just list widgets or the heading widget or any of that type. So here I'm suggesting that you just put in front the actual type of the widget that you want to retrieve. From the JavaScript point of view, you'll need to create services, right, which you probably already have this. Many of these services already in the, you probably already have core service and module service. You probably have all those. So for the widget service, you'll need to extend just so the same type of thing you'll need to do for the widgets, right? You'll need the services for each one of them to be able to create one or update them so that each one of them knows how to use a particular repository, right, to manipulate the specific type of widget. And finally, the Redux. Currently, your Redux probably only uses the services for the courses, the modules, the lessons, the topics, right? So this says to extend it for widgets. No, wait. So you already used Redux for the widgets, right? Yeah. Okay. So right now it's using just a either a static or a copy of the state in the client only, right? So this says to extend it so that whatever you did for modules and courses, which were already going to the service, right? Here you'll also go to the service for the widgets, right? So instead of having it hard coded on the client, go out to the service to go fetch all this, and everything backed by a relational database stored in a database, right? Yes.
So what if we don't need to use like the widget reducer to interact with the service? We just have everything trickle down from courses. Will we get penalized?
Wait, say that again.
So like basically the way I have it set up is that everything flows down from the course, and so the reducer stays pure rather than having to interact. Will we get penalized?
But how does the widget know what topic, for instance? Does the state of the widget use a reducer?
Like the course, I mean, this is...
No, I mean, that's fine. Courses and modules, those, that can stay,
yeah.
Just...
Yeah, topics have an associated widgets with them.
Right, so, but the widgets, if, I don't know, I forget what assignment was the whole point was to use a reducer for the widgets.
Yeah.
Right? But everything else was not using a reducer.
Correct.
Right. So that's still the case here.
Okay.
The widgets still use a reducer, and the reducer would use the services to retrieve the data, but now the services would be backed by a relational database. Okay. All right.